right. Happy Halloween, everybody, and welcome to Unlock and Learn 14, where we decided to have a little bit of fun and dress up for this. I am deep in the fairy elf of reading world right now. I joke because my husband has been trying to get me into like Lord of the Rings for the longest time, but it just took me reading some fairy books to get on board with a family Halloween costume this year. And then we have Jacob. Is it Heifort, right?
Heifort.
So close, so close. Heifort from Clearview, property manager in his time. And we're here to talk about boosting your profits. Boosting your profits.
Whoa!
I did think about seeing if I could like put some things that would scare us as we were doing this. But how boosting your profits specifically around like payment processing, right? So we once had a talk before about payment processing, and let me tell you, it's just such a hot topic, right? So number one, there's so many softwares and there's so many vendors, there's so many techs, there's so many processes that we have to follow in this industry. But things that when it comes to taking your payments, distributing your payments, and making sure that you are doing it in an efficient way, that nobody is going to scare you whenever you lost a whole bunch of money. Right? So that's what we're here for. So Jacob, introduce yourself.
Yes, I am Jacob Heifort. Nobody ever gets that last name right because it looks like he, if, or T, or Heifort, or whatever. I get all sorts of things, but I'm originally from Minnesota, which is why I got my hockey gear, Minnesota Wild.
So is that because you played hockey, or that actually a Halloween costume you wore one?
No, this is actually my gear. I played hockey and played hockey once. I moved over here to Louisville, Kentucky for a year or so, and it's just
I didn't know we had a pro hockey player on today too.
I wish I was pro. That'd be so fun. We'd play like on ponds and stuff. So like, when it froze over, we just go out. It's like an easy way to go get exercise when it's freezing cold, and I got to bring that back too.
Sounds terrible.
But yeah, I'm with Clearview Payments, and yeah, been enjoying the short-term rental space for a while. As you mentioned, I am a property manager, and just kind of love bringing experience. And I think one of my goals with being part of Clearview is to bring hospitality to this industry that is typically pretty cold, and I guess I don't know, for lack of better words, not transparent, not helpful. Not everyone. I don't want to like throw everybody, say that, but it's something where people can kind of dupe you, and if you don't know what you're looking for, it just happens.
Right. I think you make a good point, right? If you don't know what you're looking for, right? And I think that's one thing that we've kind of been, trying to hit on in all of these webinars, right? Is trying to teach people like, what questions do you need to ask? What do you need to look for in any kind of vendor or software that's out there? So now we're specifically talking about payment processing. I'm not a one to usually lead with fear, but I'm gonna
Halloween,
play.
Though.
I'm gonna play into the theme of the day. Fear fairy over here.
Fear fairy.
Just came up with that. Oh man, guys. I'm sorry. There's going to be so many of them today. I can't help it. But let's start with some hidden fees, right? So let's go into this. So when it comes to payment processing, I know we kind of really talked about narrowing down to like three things, right? That people could kind of take away and think about. And one was like hidden fees, support, and chargebacks, right? We're going to leave the best for last, chargebacks, because everyone wants to hear about that. So that you hang around with us. But what is a financial horror story that you could start us out with?
And there's a lot, and I have several in different categories that I can kind of think of. But the things that I think people are most afraid of is, or that's most common and talked about is, one, I'm paying way too much, right? That's something that with tight margins, or with lowered rates. Lowered, I guess, occupancy kind of year over year. We kind of had a slowly down.
We've seen a dip, right? We have a dip. Supply and demand are on the same path. They're parallel. They're not catching up with each other, right? And we've had a dip, maybe not, compared to COVID, we had a dip, right? And depending on where you are. So you got to think outside of things and where your fees are in general.
That's exactly right. And, and then on top of that, you're trying to, so maximize your profits. You're trying to make sure the operations are good. I know I can't.
I am so happy that you talk with your hands and you wore these gloves because it's making my day.
You got to play defense against the bad guys, right?
Yes.
But yeah, so you're kind of doing a couple different things, right? So you're trying to play offense with making as much profits as you possibly can. So decreasing your costs, increasing your revenue, trying to make sure that you're competitive in your area while still maximizing the profits that you can make. Obviously that's a revenue management story, but these are all things that managers are thinking about, and you're trying to.
That's technically your SOP or process when it comes to payment processing in general, right? Because the processing's easy, right? You're getting the payment. How are you actually consolidating the payment and paying out your owners and giving that visual? And what is it consolidating when you're doing the books, whatever it is?
Accounting, reconciling, whatever.
Reconciling, right? Like that's kind of where we're getting into here, right? When you have to go and see what is, what's the cost of business versus what we're making in here, right? And that was one thing I have to say was a shocker to me. I've been a vendor for so long, and then when I did a little bit of, had my own co-hosting and then property management at Hosiva, right? How many fees it costs? Like it used to say, hey, how can you not afford this, right? And then you're like, oh wait, like there's a payment processor of 2.9%. There's this percentage, and then this percentage, and then this flat fee, and then the idea is how your Clearview is allowing you to kind of consolidate some of the accounting and processing part together, taking the burden off, right? So go to like the support factor, right? So let's talk about supporting. What kind of support should you look for? Did you look for like in payment processing or your accounting side when on property management?
Yeah, so I think on support, there's I think there's a couple things that you really just want, generally speaking, because I think ideally with your relationship with a payment processor, they're working and you're not really noticing them as much. Like we're not an upfront player, kind of like the software, property management software is, or like revenue management. Those things are like very visual, upfront, and I would say cool. That like those things are very
pretty, neat.
Yeah,
they're fun to look at.
We're kind of like that necessity that is there, but nobody likes to really talk about. Nobody really likes to. It's kind of like insurance almost, and I hate to say that, but it's like you need insurance because if your house burns down, you got to have something to build a new house or take care of it, and you need a payment processor to make money. Otherwise, there is no business. But at the same time, it's not very, I guess, fun or cool. But what all that to say is, when you're looking for somebody, you just want something to work, right? So you want to get your money quickly. And so when somebody processes a reservation today, some I've seen, this is crazy. Some funding times are up to 15 to 30 days after the fact, which is like crazy if you're paying out owners and you're trying to do accounting. So you want that.
Where's that money being held? Like essentially, like why are some of those things taking so long?
Yeah, so on some of those, what they're saying is you're a high risk merchant, and vacation rental management is considered high risk by those who are not, I guess, in it specifically. And the reason is there's, as we know, there's refunds that need to be processed because people get sick, people cancel, stuff like that happens. And typically there's like a half up front, and you have a refund policy outside of 60 days or 30 days, you get a full refund, X, Y, and Z. And so, and even, the hurricane, where houses get destroyed and you have to cancel reservations. And so it's like, when processors see that and don't understand your business, they think, oh, this is very risky. They're doing a lot of refunds. They're not actually keeping their money. And so when they label you as high risk and you haven't been underwritten properly for them to know exactly what you're doing, then at that point, certain things can happen, like a rolling reserve. So, there's certain players that we've seen with like 90-day, 30-day, 60-day rolling reserve
Mhm.
requirements of 10% of all your funds that are coming through, up to
Whoa, that's crazy. You just explained that better than anybody has it to me. Like I had like this huge light bulb in my head. Like because us at Hostivo, we are an established property manager, right? With software and a property manager, we use Stripe for majority of our things. We don't have a problem with that. And sometimes, right, you hear a lot of people like, why does the vacation rental community, let's just say, hate Stripe? Like whatever. This is just a webinar. I'm not trying to start things, right? But you do hear this stuff all the time. And you just said it. If you are not clearly defined as a vacation rental business, right? And that's the thing is that's just an air you could be running 60 units on Airbnb only, and your payments are coming through there, right? I talked to somebody yesterday, like literally he has 60 units with a property manager, right? And he's like, I guess I'm just gonna take them back, right? But to him it's just him, it's just one person, right?
yeah,
It's not technically a business. They're just operating as Jacob Heifort properties, right? Like it's not like this crazy multi conglomerate thing. So that makes sense. Like so having a payment processor that specializes in what we do. So the underwriting of like exactly what's happening. So what are some situations where you've seen where people like come to you guys, like where they're like, hey, like we've done this, we've tried this, and this is, what are some examples?
yeah. So yeah, we've seen, for example, like, yeah, we're currently on this, 90-day reservation. They're holding 20% of our funds. We can't handle it, especially if you're a growing business, as you know, kind of like you said. It's just um, the margins are thin, and at the beginning, until you get to a certain point, then you start having a little bit more, I guess, of a reserve that you can, play with, and
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't affect you as much.
And I
But
mean, would it make sense that also, since you are growing businesses, right? Like some of these businesses are making money astronomical more, or processing an astronomically more amount of money month over month or year over year, right? So it's not like
right,
you just opened or a restaurant expected to make what, like a 300,000 MRR or something like that. Like it's
yeah,
changing. Like there's a high eye on
yeah, there is, and um, yeah, so, but I think kind of to kind of go back a little bit, we'll use Stripe as an example because it's very common and everybody knows the name, and they're
almost feel
not.
like Stripe is like the Kleenex of tissue at this point,
That's
right?
exactly right. Everyone knows Stripe. Everyone has heard of like Stripe in the restaurant industry. It's a lot of like Square. A lot of people know
Mm-hmm.
same category a little bit, but I think Stripe isn't a bad processor overall. I think they have a good
Mm-hmm.
system.
They're Amazon of payment processors, right? They're the
They're big. They know how to get people set up quick. But the downside to that is if you're not underwritten properly, then you get those reserves, and so they kind of do it after the fact. But a lot of times when it happens after the fact, it's like, oh, it's too late. You already have this reserve. Now you have to kind of play catch up, and at that point, I mean, I've seen it several times where they're not able to ever get out of that rolling reserve, no matter how
mm-hmm.
much documentation they provide. And again, but the thing that scares a lot of people is they have a big name, they know them, and then on the other side is it takes longer to get set up when you're underwriting properly. It's not
Mm-hmm.
an instant thing, but it's way better long term. And so you
Mm-hmm.
kind of think about, okay, do I want this to be a long term ease of process where, for example, with us, it's like at max, we have a 1 day holding period uh, ever, right? So no matter what
Mm-hmm.
business is, we can also do next day funding. And that's just because we believe in the transparency piece where it's like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
if they're
I
holding
gotta
a,
fix my ear.
yeah,
My
losing the
ear's
ear,
falling off.
uh, if companies are
It won't.
holding,
My ear won't hold on like the companies. These are
like
holding
the
your funds. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
who are holding your funds. It's not a necessary thing. It's a lot of times it's to be put into some type of high yield account to make
Mm-hmm.
this through that time. Not always. Again, there's always a caveat for this, but there's real no reason to be holding on to money longer than
Right. Right. And this makes it such a hard, situation in our industry for many things, right? It's like you as a property manager, right? Like if you are a property manager, you have to pay your owners, right? So this is you're coming in and you're having to deal with them and tell them why the money is not coming through. So it's very important to just see your options. And I would like to say, and we're always talking about different vendors, right? In great ways. I would challenge everyone to go do their research, right? And if you whether it's a payment processor or a PMS or a pricing tool or something completely outside of this accounting software, I don't know, right? You're looking at something for your children, I don't know, like go look at like a large company, a highly funded company, right? The name that's there, the Kleenex, the brand everybody knows. Like look at the nice things, right? And look at a smaller and I don't want to say small, right? Because Clearview is not small, Hostiva is not small, right? But look at those ones that are giving a little bit more support in the beginning of it, right? And may seem like an underdog that are not, right? Figure out the different options because most time it's going to be what are the pros and cons of each and what do you need today versus what do you need, in the long term and what's going to make it easy because just because it's fast to get set up, like you said, could be detrimental to your business when they
Yeah,
start holding your funds.
I would totally agree with what you just said, and I would even take it a step further and say, oftentimes smaller businesses actually, and we find this that care more about your business than the larger businesses, than the Targets or like the WalMarts, the Stripes. They
Mm-hmm.
they don't know who is on their platform. They have so many people on their platform, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But I think there is a lot of goodness to working with a smaller company, and I'm okay with
Knowing
calling.
the names and the relationships. Yeah, right. It's like the names and the relationships, right? I,
Yes,
right. Say I like to say we operate like a mom and pop, right?
yeah,
Like
like a
so, like
boutique
we're
mom
gonna
and
know your
pop.
name.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, I'm 100% with you because I honestly like, when I work or even when I just buy stuff for our houses, we try and shop local and try to find
Oh, me
people
too.
because you end up knowing them, you get to know them, they start
Mm.
asking you questions. They're like, oh, that's really cool that you're managing these properties and doing Airbnbs locally. Sorry, that's I should be saying that vacation rentals. Pardon me.
Look at us. Like, you see, look, it just kind of slips through. I meet people all the time that, yeah, it's like, okay, I try to explain to them what we're doing. I'm like Airbnb. And they're like,
Yeah.
ah,
Oh yeah, yeah, that makes sense. It's
got
like
it.
ah, but but yeah, kind of that boutique feel where they know you, they know your
Mhm.
situation. And I've had it where like we're decorating and we work with a couple of local people, and they're like, uh, we want to kind of go with this feel at this house. Do you have anything for us? They're like, we don't, but we can create that for you. Just give us a little bit of an idea and the things that you want. And I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
really? Like you're willing to do that? Like, yeah, like we love what you're doing, and we'll give you a good price. The more you purchase
Yeah,
here, the
that's
more
amazing.
stuff
And
like
I
that.
haven't I haven't been like decorating like a vacation rental like say, but I do this like in my own house all the time. I'll have like this idea that I want in the house, and I'm telling my husband like, look, like let's go look online, let's go look at Amazon or Wayfair or something like that. I'm like, no, I really want to buy local. I want to go to a brick and mortar. I want to see it. I want to touch it. I want to talk to somebody, and then I'll
Yeah.
go a whole day and look for something, and I'll be like so disappointed sometimes. I don't live like in a more like I live in more like commercialized area, right? So it's not like
Yes.
small local situations. And we moved recently, and I'll get home. And he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Order it on Amazon because I couldn't find anything I wanted, or they didn't have it in stock." And like these things, but it's funny, but it's what's right for you at the time, right? Like you have to have the options, but it's it's
Yeah.
it's what's there. But yeah, cool. Well, we're at about 10 minutes left in here. And so one thing that I
Already?
definitely want, I know, right? It's
Fun.
this, I wish 30 minutes passed this quickly at bedtime
I know.
for
That's
my children.
seriously.
Never. I try to put that in my head. Like it's just like a 30-minute webinar that feels like it's just flying by. Never does that ever happen. It feels like 5 years. I age 5 years every day with toddlers.
That's so funny.
But we've kind of, things we were talking about is like hidden fees, always looking at that, reconciling, and then the support that you get in that system. So the one that we were talking about, the real nightmare of the all, the one that nobody ever wants to talk about. And I can tell you all the time at home away when I would answer a call, and I was on inbound phone team for a while, and somebody would say the word chargeback, like I just freeze.
Yeah,
Like, I don't
yeah.
think it, because there's nothing we could do. And you just had to sit there and just listen for just, that's all you, that was a lesson in being a mother, apparently. So let's talk about
Yeah.
chargebacks and fraud.
Yes, let's talk about it. So I'll start with fraud and then go to chargeback. I mean, they're kind of interrelated, but they're both,
Mm-hmm.
extremely unfun, and obviously it's a part of business, unfortunately. So starting with fraud, there's the first thing I want to say about both of those is that there's several players in the game that I think a lot of people miss, and so it's
Great point.
because it's your website where they're booking through. You got obviously the guest who's making the booking, and most of fraud activity is going through direct booking websites. It's not through an OTA. So that's a huge component of fraud that I think everyone should be highly aware of. Is on your direct booking website, at absolute minimum you should have a captcha for anybody who is
Mm-hmm.
trying to make a booking, just so you don't get
That
hit
makes sense.
these bots. And because I was telling you about that story of a client that had a major bot attack on their direct booking website, no captcha. And basically, thankfully our team was able to catch it quickly, and they're like, hey, we put everything on hold until this is put in place. And basically was the captcha had to be put in place, and then the second thing was, so we worked with the payment
That's
processor,
so crazy.
the manager. We worked with the website company to help them, and then we worked with their property management software to get all the bookings
That's
canceled.
three players. That's three different companies, right?
Companies that are a part of this scheme, and then you know, and it always gets thrown on us. It's always like, this is your fault. And I'm like, all right, hold on, hold the phone here, okay? Not the case. We actually helped you by holding those funds, and in this case the guy was extremely thankful, so it's not him. But typically with chargebacks, the blame gets put on the processor,
Right.
and
But
chargebacks is,
if that comes up, the whole theme is that if that comes up, you want someone that you can talk to, right? Like, you're probably in situations like Stripe and stuff like that. You're probably going to like a ticketing system,
yes,
right? A big,
directly.
that's in anything that you're asking. I would ask, what does support look like? Whether it's a payment processor or software, right? Oh, you send an email or you send a ticket in, or here's my email and my phone number, right?
Yeah,
Here's how you WhatsApp message me. Things things like that. But like, you have someone to talk to, and it's not just a ticketing system. I can't,
that's
literally, I'm at the point now that I cannot deal with ticketing or calling in to call things that, and I know I'm a big person of AI. I get it. I talk about it all the time. But I have noticed more people who are using AI on call center phone things, and it does have a faster processing time. I digress.
yeah, it does. And I think you're right though. Like a ticketing system, like I don't think it overall is bad, but because
I
once you get to
understand why
a
you
certain
need it
level,
and someone has to be looking at it, right? But there's at a certain point. But this is right. We're not saying that either one is bad, right? But if somebody grows and needs more efficiency and automation, it makes sense for somebody's business to have a ticketing system like that, right? But if you go to a smaller mom and pop business, right, with more quality over quantity, right, in that
yeah,
situation, then you have a little bit more of a personal touch.
that's exactly right. And I think that's something that you and I with Hostiva. I mean, you're not a smaller company, but I think that's kind of how you get viewed as kind of a smaller company. Kind of same with
Right,
us.
like our PMS is a startup, right? So, right, and we're still compared to, right, we're a large property manager, right? But compared to all
Yes,
everybody else out there,
yes.
there's some big players.
There's a lot of big players, and uh, we find that we have different customers that prefer different things in terms of interaction. So there's some that are like, we don't want to talk to you at all. If we need anything, we'll just email you. And it's like, okay, that's fine. Email me, or uh, they want to just be trained and do it all themselves. There's a couple other people that or like if there's ever an issue at any point, I want to be able to contact you immediately. And I prefer call. I don't like email, and that's actually a point why they went with us, is because we pick up the phone and it's not a 1-800 number. It's me. They know that they're calling me,
Mm-hmm.
and even if I have to, if there's another party needs to be involved, like a website or uh,
Mm-hmm.
whatever else, I can kind of guide them to that, and they just really enjoy uh, being helped and guided towards the solution.
Right.
You like call somebody on the phone, they're like, "All right, hold on a second."
Everyone's scared. Everyone's scared of the phone these days, right? It's all the phone. And I have to say, like
Kind of get it.
myself, I get it, right? I'm not a fan of picking up the phone, and I don't like calling people, right?
Yeah.
But if I know somebody's calling me for work, I'm gonna answer it. But I want to tell you right now, if you are a salesperson or an account executive and you're trying to like get out of that bubble, my phone number is like all over the place. My phone barely rings, right? Like I mean, it does. I'll get text and call here and there. Be some big weeks like it's random. Why is this person calling me? Like from five
Yeah.
years ago, and it'll be like, oh, are you used to work at Rented, right? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, where are you now? These things happen
Yeah,
to
they
me
happen all the time.
all the time. So like get off that, like just like let people like find you and contact you. That's where you set you where anybody, if you're a property manager, a vendor, anyone, like that connection, like we gotta get back to that.
No, I think you're right. And that what you just said though kind of reminded me of how low the bar really is for service. Like if you
Pick up the
answer,
phone or call
yeah,
back. You can call back
call
too. You
back.
can screen. That's fine.
I mean, with it, I'm talking about like if you call back within a day, you're probably beating most people, and it's like, or if you respond back to an email within a day, you're beating most companies. And
And
if
that's
you
the
do
scary. This is
show up,
the scary part. How hard it is. It's that, and I would have to say, I talked to someone recently, in this industry, and I'm not going to call her out, but she told me recently that she said, because I was asking her for like some sales coaching advice, and she was like, there's only one person out of everyone that like she had known and I known over the years of vendors, one person that ever called me once a month, right? Ever called her once a month, and I was ashamed. Ashamed. And I'm like, you were definitely on my call list. Like, like when do you actually get there, right? And it's just it's interesting like to see. And we're all bad at it. It's time and we're consuming too much, but that's recently we were actually talking about this on our last webinar. Gotta love how things come full circle, man. So we were
yeah,
talking with Trelog from Wednesday, and we said back to revenue management, right? So like right now, supply and demand, right? It's all kind of together. No one's outpacing anything. Nobody's like occupant, people are trying to figure out how do we get a little bit more out of what I have. And we feel like the
yeah,
players who are giving them a little bit more quality, pay attention to everything that they're doing are going to be able to level up from this, right? They're going to be the ones that pull out from doing all this. It's exact same concept here,
yeah,
right?
yeah. No,
Um,
it looks like we got a couple minutes left.
Yeah, always so fast. So yes, a couple more minutes on here. So what do you want to leave the people with?
Yes, I'll leave the people with a few things. So I think when you're looking for a payment processing partner, and I think obviously this kind of goes with any partner because the way that we view ourselves is we're partnering with you in your success in your business,
Great.
not just a random plug-in that whatever. We want to be a partner with you. I think the second thing is make sure that the service is there for you. Make sure you're able to get what you need. Thirdly, coming to payments, and this is a little plug for us, but what we do is in anytime we meet with a new client, we simply show them the numbers, right, side by side, right? We just want to be completely transparent here. This is what
Mhm.
you've been paying, and we've seen an increase. I don't know if you knew about it at month 6 and month whatever, and this is how much it went up by, and this is our promise to you is to keep the same rate that we have agreed upon, for as long as you're with us. So make sure you see the numbers, the side by side. If you're getting a proposal, we do that obviously, no cost, no obligation. We just want to
Mhm.
educate and show people.
Show
Second,
me the numbers. It's like show me the money.
yeah, show me the money because we all understand like we want to save money. That's a huge piece, right?
You kind of look like the little kid from Jerry Maguire right now. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna lie.
I know. I
I
can't put
promise
myself.
everyone, Jacob is an adult,
Yeah, I don't know.
a father of children, not a
All our
child.
children. but I do like to have fun, and so I hope some of you can appreciate that.
Yes.
uh,
Well, Jacob, thank you so much. This was really fun. I'm excited that we put this together. I have to say, like, I think I've been I have it. I've told people before that for some reason payment processing and that side of things is not something that my brain was consuming in a way it needed to. So, I've never been a property manager who's actually to take money and pay somebody for it, right? I'm very much on the, the vendor side, and I have been on a mission for months to help myself understand this. And Clearview, your team has helped me out so much. And I hope that's the idea of this webinar, right? So if you're watching now or you're watching later, is we want people to have a better understanding of, you need a payment processor if you're going to use a software, right? If you're not directly on Airbnb or Vrbo and you're using some kind of PMS, you need a payments processor. Well, that is a whole, you have to pay your owners or you have to pay yourself. These are things you have to do, right? So start thinking about it and looking at it. And if you need to talk to Jacob, how do they get in touch with you? I'll make sure the subtitles are right when you say it.
that's right. Yeah. You can create a ticket on our website. No, I'm just kidding. You can.
Could you imagine?
Can you imagine? After all that talk we just had, you can call me. My personal cell phone is 612-432-6511. And then I got my email, first letter of my name, J Heifort, Heifort at Clearview, M as in Mary, C as in cat.net. Whichever you prefer, if you're a texter, all that good stuff. Obviously, just glad to help, glad to connect. And I honestly just like having conversations to see if we can help your business, and if we can integrate with your software. That's a huge question that a lot of people have. What does that look like? And then obviously we're a partner with Hostiva, so
Yes.
demo with Hostiva, and you can work with the two of us and get the
Yes,
best.
just all the time, just the two
Yeah,
of us. This is what we look like all the time.
this is what we look like all the time. Well, Fury, a hockey player, it's up to you.
Yes, yes. Whatever. I mean, I'm gonna keep my little elf ears just next to my computer, just in case that's what you expect. If that's what you want, let me know. And thank you, everyone. My name's Talia Lockard. If you need to get in touch with me, it's tlockard@hostiva.com. You want to look at our PMS, hear about Clearview, want to just talk about the show in general or the vacation rental industry. It's just, this is my day job, but it's also my husband's day job. So we kind of eat, breathe, and sleep this stuff. That's just what this industry is full of passion. Well, happy Halloween. Don't eat too much candy or do, and have a great day. Bye.
Have a great day. It's great to be on this. So thanks again, Talia.
Awesome. Bye, Jacob.
Bye.